This is Flowers on the Stage.
Well, one of my favorite parts of the job is consistently getting to just see new parts of the world, like every day when you're on tour. Um, I love that. I love getting to explore all these cities I've been hearing about my entire life. Um, and we get to do it in a bus. So, the driver drives through the night most of the time. And you just wake up and you're in a new state or new city. And we're getting to see some other countries now too. Like we're going to Mexico soon. We went to Iceland a couple of years ago. Um, yeah, it's really cool to be able to explore new places all the time, meet new people every day. Um, so that's one of my favorite parts about it. But I guess when you ask about least favorite parts too, that could fit into the other side of bus touring, which is the fact that it's pretty difficult sometimes. Um, you're out there for a long time. You got to make sure that you can, you know, keep up with like eating healthy and exercising, um, you name it, keeping a good headspace, working efficiently, making sure everybody else is working efficiently. And, um, it's definitely not for the faint of heart to do what dogs do, and all the other bands on the road right now. Um, but every tour it gets a little better. You learn something.
I want to jump over and talk about songwriting. I know we've spoken about that a bit. How have you gone about getting past some of those kind of mental hurdles that you think might get in the way of good songwriting?
Um, I've been finding that reading a lot about songwriting from different songwriters has helped me. Reading books by Jeff Tweedy, he writes a lot about songwriting. Rick Rubin, this guy Kevin Griffin, he's a songwriter out of Nashville. They all just talk about all these different angles of songwriting. Willie Nelson, um, whatever else that I've read. Pat Pattison, from Berkeley. Yeah. Anyway, it just you get these perspectives because they all talk about writer's block in one form or another, um, and something that a lot of these people share in their interviews and in their writings and stuff, even on YouTube when you listen to songwriters talk about songwriting. Uh, they talk about how it doesn't always come in one click like that. You don't sometimes you just get a song done in an hour and it's like your favorite thing that you've written. It connects with people. It's full of truth and all that stuff. But most of the time that's not how it works. But you can't, they all say that you can't just sit around and wait for that inspiration to strike. You have to get your pen out and invite that in. And you're not always going to get it, but you have to sit down like it's a 9 to 5 job and be willing to write bad stuff because it's mostly bad. Um, Tom Marshall tells me that, you know, the songs that he writes with Trey Anastasio, um, they write so many, but most of them never get used because there are so many, getting thrown into the catalog all the time. And, they're convinced that 1 out of 10 songs that you write is going to be like decent or good. Um, and I find that fascinating. It's definitely I definitely feel the same way. Um, so I think just accepting that notion, being willing to know that you're going to write some stuff that's not all that great, I guess makes you hopefully a little more like fearless.
Very interesting interplay between having an ego to write a song about something, but then not being egotistical about like what you're writing.
Definitely, yeah. I think about that all the time. It's like, you know, yeah. How are you supposed to live on that fine line,
Yeah.
with like thinking about something because
I feel like the best like can like put on different masks or something, or can embody characters almost, whether it's an exaggerated form of a version of themselves, or even writing for different artists through their voice. I feel like maybe the best songwriters can just like put themselves in the shoes of people.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, if you're ever writing a song where you're speaking in first person from someone else's perspective, maybe it could be a little easier. That's why I found, because I've co-written with other people, and I've known that the songs weren't going to go to my project or the band or anything. And when you're able to have that, like, not have to worry about it being yours all that much,
What does that do for you?
I think it feels nice because you can get excited about it, but not worry about it being like such a great song. And that ends up making it into a good song, when you don't have to worry about it so much. It's kind of just like, if you can just keep writing and write, focus on quantity over quality, chances are there'll be a higher quality because you're not putting all this energy into one song. Although I have done that too, where it's taken years to finish a song. And those end up being songs that tend to stick around longer, too. So I don't know. It's like a constant learning process.
For sure.
It's but yeah, I definitely believe in that thing of just writing a bunch and getting a few good ones here and there.
So like theoretically, let's say there's a song you're working on for Dogs in a Pile, and this is going to be, maybe even like a album title track. Like it's something you guys have really put a lot into. And with a situation like that, not something that you might just throw away, like how do you balance being like confident and assertive with the direction you think the song needs to go, and then also with like the inevitable self-doubt and kind of like criticizing your work that bubbles up as you're kind of hashing it out? Like how do you kind of find that compass?
I don't know. I have a habit of asking everybody around me what they think about something, what they think about a song. Like, do you like it? And there are people who inevitably most of the time are going to be like, oh yeah, it's nice, it's cool, and then I'm like, but like, isn't it great or something? Or I think a song won't be that great, and then people will hype it up and say it's great. And that's something that I'm working on. I think I need to just like know that it's good for me, and if it's good enough for me to put out there in the first place, then I should be just like happy that it has a life of its own, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that thing again of giving into feeling, I guess, that fearlessness, like knowing that I'm giving it my all, trying to write all the time. So if this one's not great, hopefully the next one will be. It's just I feel like you can't really plan those things. You have an inkling when you're starting something, like, oh, this has the potential to be really great. It's got a great hook. It tells a really, a true story. It's vulnerable. It's and you see it through to the end, and hopefully it is all of those things. But then also, I don't know, I have a lot of songs, like hundreds of songs in the back of my head, definitely over 200 unfinished songs where I've been sitting on them for years. And I'm just like waiting for the right time. I always sit down and try to like treat it like a job and try to just write it out. And, sometimes I'll get like one line out of it that I feel good about, where I'm not like throwing pages away. And but I don't know, Thomas Duncan Part 3 is a good example of one that I listened to the demo that Jeremy Kaplan and I recorded. I listened to it hundreds of times and just like kept simmering on it, and he did too. And then we sat down one day. We were like, we got to finish this song, let's finish it for this date. And then all of a sudden we had that pressure for a certain show at the Stone Pony, and we sat down, and all the other guys were in the room too, and we were able to just bang some stuff out, get more sections going, did that, and then it was like, all right, great, let's get in the studio in a day and get these lyrics too. And within an hour, we just hashed out the rest of the lyrics because we knew about that song and what it could be for so long, and it ended up being more than we thought it could be, I think.
And I think treating it like a 9 to 5, like sometimes in a 9 to 5, you got to get something done by the end of the day.
Pressure helps. I think we myself and the rest of the band tend to work well under pressure, which is a good thing. But there's not always pressure there, so you kind of have to pressure yourself.
So when you're hashing out a song, and obviously there's a core idea, how important is being sincere around that core idea? And then like from a jam band kind of perspective, like where does like kind of being quirky and funny and having levity fit into that? And like what's like your opinion on like the importance of sincerity in songwriting, and then how the quirkiness, what role that plays?
I think we're naturally quirky. So there tends to be elements in there in a lot of our songs. That's one of the greatest things about writing with Sam. Something that we share, Sam Lucid from Dogs in a Pile. There's always quirkiness involved, but they're always true messages. They're, the songs that we're writing are about stories of other people or ourselves, and sometimes you can't even tell which perspective it is. But they're about relationships, turning into an adult, growing up, going through hardships, going through loss, love, life. They're about our lives. They're about our friends too. And sometimes we try to shed light on these things with some humor and some levity. And it tends to just get the message across in a nice way, I guess. We also just love to play with wordplay, and sometimes just the music itself will be kind of funny, certain chord changes or whatever it is. But I don't know. Sometimes we write about friends and they don't even know it, like a few different songs that just talk about one person. And it just they embody fun. And how do I say this? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes we kind of like make light of truths in different ways. Sometimes the whole song is like very literal and dark or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. We find ways to like fit in meanings for ourselves into a certain line or a certain lyric, and a lot of the times people don't even catch it, and it sounds like something that's humorous, but it's not. But I don't know.
So yeah, jumping to the side just a little bit, would love to talk about, like, for the perspective of this question, music itself. So not like being a professional musician and what that's like, but music as a concept. What's something about music that you believe now that when you were just getting into it, you didn't really believe?
Well, I guess I didn't really understand the importance of really digging into music theory when I was younger, being like a guitar player, just learning songs. I was starting to develop a decent ear and picking things up, realizing the relationships between different intervals and chord qualities and stuff like that. And I was like always like fearful of reading music and all that stuff. But as soon as I got to Berkeley, that in Boston, that all changed quickly. I don't know. It's one of the greatest things I learned at school was solfege singing, do re mi fa sol la ti do. That's one of the greatest things you can learn to train your ear. And it's a great way for our band to be able to communicate melodies and communicate, different things to each other musically.
To an animal, music may just feel like sounds that make no sense. And in music theory, the the human ear hears these intervals and we make almost sense out of it. What do you think it is about like the science of music that can cause for it to like heal people, for people to have like really moving experiences, even from just instrumental music? Like, as you started studying that, like, what do you feel like you've learned about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I could explain exactly how, but harmony at its core is beautiful. Just harmony alone without any rhythm can be so moving. Um, just when things work in consonance together and harmony, I think I honestly do think it really like reminds people of what love feels like when something just works that well in harmony and in consonance with one another. And then you have the other side of it, which is rhythm, and I think rhythm just makes people move. It's like, how? I don't know, the repetition of a certain groove or something, just playing on anything, something natural. You could do it with a rock and you know a tree. uh it's just so human at its core, I feel like. And I guess people have always been getting together doing that for thousands of years, so it's just in our DNA to love music. That's what I think.
I love it. Agreed. And
Yeah.
jumping again to this side, would love to hear, you brought up some of your bandmates. I'd love to hear some of the things you most admire about each of them, kind of from your inside out view.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Well, wonder if there's like a certain order I should go in. I'll go
Just
in
make
height.
sure you forget one of them.
I'll go in height order from tallest to least tallest. So Sam is the tallest. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Sam is freaking great. Sam piqued my interest in music theory right from the get-go. We got each other excited about songwriting as soon as we met. And he got me excited about um, understanding chords and how to hear them. Like a party at Sam's house back in college was him at the piano and like all of our music friends around, and him just showing us new songs, giving us these chord quizzes, being like, what is this chord? Literally playing it, and you had to like you knew the root was like C or something, but you had to know it was like a C major 7 sharp 5 or flat 5 or flat 9 13 or 9 flat 13 or whatever it was. And like we'd quiz each other on these things. And even before chords, he was like quizzing me on intervals, like this is a fourth, this is a fifth. And he was just like lived, he still does. His depth of music theory, and Jeremy's too, is so immense. It's really inspiring, and it makes me aspire to be like that, to understand something, you know, in a fuller way. But also Sam's a really interesting cat, because when we were first starting to play, he had only been playing the bass for literally like a year and a half, 2 years, and he was just learning. And he always loved music, but he had just started to like really play an instrument and learn it. And here he was at school killing it. And just like a semester or two later, he won this award from the bass department at Berkeley for most improved, which is probably like the best award you can get. So yeah, really inspiring. And he was the first person that I really started working on music with in the band. And he has really interesting melodic ideas. He plays the bass very melodically. And he also loves like certain kinds of like jamtronica music. So he's always getting inspired by those rhythms and like bringing them to the table. But yeah, we've written a lot of songs together, and always have right from the beginning. So that's him. And then the second tallest would be me. So we've already been talking about that. Next would be Jimmy. Jimmy or Joe. I don't know who's talking, but Jimmy is Jimmy has always just been this shredding guitar player who just like can play a freaking solo like nobody else. He just I don't know, he's just like such a natural lead guitar player. Um and has always had this energy about him. When Jimmy was first, or when Sam was first telling me about who Jimmy was, because he said he'd been jamming with this guy, he was just like, he's already got like a following in Asbury. Everybody's been seeing him since he was like 5. And the amount of people you meet on the road, it's true, like have been seeing Jimmy in Asbury Park since he was literally like 4 or 5 years old on stage at the Stone Pony. He's like came up as this local kid who was like helping to you know, kind of build up the Asbury Park music scene, I think. And yeah, he's great. He's yeah, that's he's a good player. He's a freaking great player. And he's funny too. Funny guy. And then you got Joey, who is he was 15, I think, maybe 16 when the band started. And I had heard about him through Sam in Boston before I came down to Jersey for the first time. And yeah, he's interesting. He's very consistent in the band. In jams and just performance, you know, he's always challenging himself, practicing all the time. And yeah, he's just such a powerhouse behind the drums, you know. It's
Quite
really
squad.
really fun to watch. And I've like watched him, you know, I'm like 4 years older than him or something like that. And it's been cool to like watch everybody come into their own as musicians and as people. But you know, he's like the little bro of the deal. And yeah, he's becoming something really. I think he's just becoming an exceptional drummer. And I feel like he's like, you know, yeah, he's a beast. And Jeremy is like the wizard of the group. He's he's a really smart guy. He's super tech savvy, and just in his purest form, he's just a freaking I don't know, absolute, like, he's got these virtuosic qualities on the keyboards, but also on all these instruments, more instruments that you can name, like the accordion, the bass. He's like just as good at the bass as he is at the keys. Although keys, he's like really, really great. He could play drums. I think he played drums first, actually. I don't know, the flute, the trumpet, cello, saxophone, all these things. But he's great. He's also a great arranger, you know, orchestrator. A lot of the songs, like, he kind of puts his final touch on them, and gets them organized, gets the form organized, gets different instrumentation done. Sometimes it even gets scored out, like written out. It's like, this is how this bass line should be in relation to these drums, like on Thomas Duncan or something like that. But he's also the guy who's producing the albums, produced the first album and is now producing this third album, the newest one that's coming out soon. And yeah, so it's a really interesting group. Everybody comes from kind of different backgrounds, but everybody has the Grateful Dead in common. We always have. And so our love of improvisational music definitely comes out in the improvisation, if that makes sense. And yeah, all really good musicians, and everybody is always working to think about how it could be better. So yeah, I feel I'm definitely lucky, and consider myself blessed to be able to get to know these guys. And
I love that answer.
music. Yeah.
So as a band, like what do you guys feel like is most important when it comes down to on a day-to-day basis defining success as a group?
Yeah, I think we focus on the day-to-day basis more than we focus on the big picture a lot. We'll go through these tours where it's like we're so focused on everything that happens on a day-to-day, from waking up to going to sleep, all the load in, the trailer, exactly how the trailer is getting packed. Everybody's working on their different crafts. You got Brian, our sound guy, who's, you know, getting at night getting the mixes sent out to be posted, and AJ, our lighting guy, who's programming, getting ready for the show each day. Nick, the tour manager, who's plotting the future, where we're going, where we need to stay, and then everything that the band's doing. Getting set list done, writing songs, rehearsing, planning on a cover for a city or whatever. And we go through this. When you get sucked into those habits every day for like a 2-month tour, you're not really thinking about like how the Instagram, how the Spotify is doing, how our presence online is, how tickets are selling. You kind of just show up to a venue and you're like, oh, nice surprise, like it's sold out tonight, or like tonight's not doing so well. But we're so focused on the craft of putting the music first, making sure the music is solid. We all feel good about it. We're all giving it our absolute full intention. And all of the other important factors that go into the business side of things, the tech side of things. But I think sometimes we maybe struggle to like see the bigger picture, that things are moving, because when you get locked into that stuff in a bus and just the venue room for every day for a while, you just, I don't know. But you asked about defining success, right?
Yeah, that was a good answer though.
I think defining success for us is getting all those things done. But so I think, yeah, we're more worried about that than we are like the end goal or like the big picture, how things are actually going, which I think is a good thing, because it's always just continuously trying to make the gears turn and efficiently and in a way that satisfies us.
So with where you're at in music and life, this current chapter, what does like growth look like for you right now?
What does growth look like for me right now? I can answer that in like 2030. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm always working on me. Always, I don't know. It's an everyday thing. You try to make sure that you're working the best you can, being the most presentable that you can for your life at home, for your life on the road, your life with your bandmates and your partners that you work with. I'm always just trying to work on me and making sure I'm efficient in my relationships with people, true to my music, keeping myself satisfied with the amount that I practice. And it's like a constant learning experience for me, of like learning how to get the proper amount of rest, but also like be up for the right amount of hours to get things done. Always trying to just take in new music, listen to music, and yeah. I've also, I put down drinking and partying a while ago, and going on almost 2 years now. And that's been a super important positive change to my life, because I just kind of decided that, I care about this thing, this music and this band and this family that has been built, more than anything. And what better way to honor that than to just be in the present moment all the time and you know, just be. I feel at peace knowing that I'm like giving it my all the time, because I think when you get distracted by that sort of thing for a while, just treating it like fun, it is fun. It's like fun in its purest form, but just fun all the time is like not how it works. At least for me, I found that I could not get that to work. So then also, you know, everybody's on their own journey, but yeah, for me, it's just that's definitely been a big part of my growth, and I'm very grateful to have made that change. You know, it's
I
been
love that.
a great last 2 years, and I feel like awake and ready to go.
You know, thank you for this awesome interview, for, you know, keeping the flame burning. And yeah, man, huge fan of who you are, and great to get to know you a little better here. Any final words for the fans out there? Just kind of wrapping this up. I know you mentioned new album coming soon. Definitely tour dates. If we're not there listening, we got a link in the description. You can check out Dogs in a Pile tour, grab those tickets in advance. But yeah, Brian, any final words for the fans out there?
Yeah, there's some exciting stuff coming up. I'm excited for the Burning Daylight Festival, our first festival coming up at the end of May in Lafayette, New York. So yeah, I just hope to see you soon. Looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. Big shout out to Dogs in a Pile. Big shout out to you, Brian. Thanks again, man.
Thanks, Cam.
This is Flowers on the Stage.